Welcome, everyone. All right, crypto cold storages and the power of owning your own keys. That's what we're going to talk about. Versan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Good afternoon. And yes, we've been promising people we would put out a video like this. So we're keeping our word. And I'm excited to discuss this. And of course, the updates regarding the Nano S. So I'll let you take it from here, Edo.
Well, this is also a video for everyone. It's not only for beginners, it's also for more hardcore crypto users. The first thing we want to clarify is the definition of a cold storage. And that literally means having ownership of your own digital assets. So if you have your XRP, let's say, or any other crypto on exchanges, let's say you have on Binance, Coinbase, whatever mainstream crypto exchange, and I'm not talking about on specific exchanges, just for the sake of giving the example. When you have your XRP there, you are not the owner of this digital asset. So basically, that's why when you deposit any sort of crypto, let's talk XRP on exchanges, you are required to provide destination tag or memo. That's the equivalent of an apartment inside a building. So you don't own the building, you don't own the keys for it. And basically, if anything bad happens, let's say a catastrophic collapse in the markets, just like happened with FT, you lose all your assets. Versan, make some comments on that, please.
Yeah. So what is cold storage? It refers to storing your cryptocurrency specifically off the internet, offline, which will, of course, put you away from any direct connection to the internet, which is the pro of all of this. So it basically isolates you and your investments from hacks, phishing attacks that could be done through smart contracts and even airdrops, exchange collapses, government freezes or seizures like what we saw with Silicon Valley Bank, what we saw with FTX and even Terra Luna, or any other nefarious malware or spyware that's designed to actually sweep wallet data. So instead of keeping your assets on a crypto exchange, which is essentially trusting a third party, which includes Caleb and Brown and many of the other exchanges that we do keep our crypto on today, cold storage gives you actually the direct and exclusive control over your funds.
That's extremely important. And that's also a way that, let's say, an exchange collapse can price out retail investors, because if they bankrupt, what happens next is that not only you're going to have to go for years of legal disputes and you really don't know the final outcome, but the major concern here is that they would refund you in the actual asset price of by the time of the exchange collapse. So if XRP is at $2 today and you have 1,000 XRPs on the exchange, you would be entitled to just $2,000. So if in the meanwhile the asset price skyrockets, let's say XRP goes to $100, that means you are instantly priced out, because you will not be entitled to receive the correspondent amount of money. Let's say if the asset went to $100 or $200. So that's why it's extremely important to do self-custody. Now we're going to discuss some of our favorite options as cold wallets. And why don't you mention some of the new issues that emerged with Ledger?
Yeah. You can see this, guys. Okay, so Ledger is actually one of the most popular cold wallets, storage providers, you could say. So they have the old device, which is a Nano S. I'll pull this up here momentarily, but they did update their software. So Nano S is no longer this model specifically. I'll pull it up later on.
I have this as well here in my hands. Ledger Nano S, that's my first cold wallet ever.
Same thing, first one ever. This was the first one I ever got, but the Nano S device is no longer going to be supporting the new XRP Ledger features going forward. So just to clarify, this doesn't mean XRP is going to disappear from your cold storage. It's just that, and oh, by the way, you're not going to lose access to your funds either. But this is going to be losing some of the support for some of the new updated features in the XRP ecosystem. Basically, you'll lose some of the compatibility with other third-party interfaces that support the XRP-enabled DeFi or payment tools, anything else. But this is because of firmware limitations. So they're also trying to evolve their landscape, and what they're doing is marketing their new models. They have the Nano Flex. So you're not really losing your XRP, you're just losing some of the future-proof access to the expanding utility of XRP, but you're not losing it. So that's something to clarify. You don't have to run to your safe, grab your ledger and go buy a new one. But we shouldn't take any chances either. And this is why we always recommend having multiple cold storage wallets if you can. Alone from a Ledger, I have about 3 of them here with me. And Descent, I have about 2 of those. And I have one of the Elliptial wallets and a Tangent wallet as well. So just having different cold storages is a great idea. So you can diversify your security just for the sake of argument.
Yeah, Descent is a great choice. You also mentioned Elliptial. I have with me one key. This also works very well. I also have, so one thing that I noticed is that once mainstream adoption kicks in, the future of cold wallets is going to be biometric. I don't think we're going to have the seed phrases anymore because that adds an impediment for people. Let's say my grandfather, for example, he wouldn't be able to perhaps take care of his seed phrases. But if we have something that's biometrical, I think that's the future of cold wallets. And there is one that works very well as well. It's called Kivo. That's a bit more expensive, but if you're looking for something biometrical, you can go for Kivo. Now, we're not making any endorsements here. We're just sharing, at least from my perspective, sharing my own experience. And before we get on the risks of staking and something that recently affected hundreds, if not thousands of XRP holders, but Sandy, you want to share some more thoughts about perhaps the Descent you have there on the screen?
Yeah. So this is the Descent biometric wallet. I love it. I have multiple of these. And in each of these, I do carry them inside of a Faraday bag.
Yes.
The Faraday bag protects any electronic devices from any EMPs. Anything that can compromise your electronics, this will protect it. You can find them on a website called Mission Darkness. I don't have an affiliate with them. They're very reasonable. They do have better quality ones that do cost a bit more, but you can get these for as low as about $32. But they absolutely work. We've actually tested this out, my brother and I, and what we did is we put a phone in here. And by the way, I have an emergency cell phone as well. Has no internet service connection, nothing like that, no service provider. It's not connected to my Yahoo, my Gmail, whatever. This is specifically for storing crypto assets. Now, we put this in the Faraday bag, and I told my brother on a SIM card that we injected into here, this is unlocked, to try to make a phone call, and it would not even receive it. So this thing is safe and protected in the Faraday bag. We keep our devices in there too. Again, this is a Descent biometric wallet. It's got a built-in fingerprint scanner for biometric security. You don't need to put your biometrics in there if you don't want to. It also supports XRP and many of the other digital assets that we are all familiar with, including Quant, Hedera, and it has its own networks for these things. You don't need necessarily to add pins or this to codes or passwords, but you can if you'd like to instead of the biometric. And it's very trustworthy. I personally love this. I have it pegged to my emergency cell phone and put them in the Faraday bag and safe and secure. I always carry some cash in here and a little bit of gold as well. I showed you this earlier. I'm a little freaky like this. So I got 2 grams of gold here and about 2,000 in cash. Each hardware wallet has some of this. Some of them have 5 grams or more.
That's very liquid.
Security, man. If I have to run out the country, I just grab 2 or 3 of these.
You just need your passport and the bags, man.
Basically.
Now, Versan gave their advanced security tips, but the last advice I would give in terms of wallets, find something that gives you titanium wallet backup plates. That's also going to prevent you from a flood or something that has to come with water. In this case, this wallet provides this, is the one key that I mentioned before. That's also a great opportunity. This one is specifically one key classic 1S, also works very good. And now just final lines here, I guess. Risk of staking, I want to make it very clear. I don't think it's the time to make passive income out of your XRP yet. I think that moment will come, but right now you're just engaging with unnecessary risks. Recently, there has been one platform that was offering stake, and it was, I think, 4% monthly, which is very low. I mean, are you going to seriously risk XRP for a 3 or 4%? And I guess they were just perhaps buying, who knows, US treasuries and then flipping it back to you. However, there is no native staking for XRP as of today. It means you can stake it on chain. In other words, you can't generate any revenue with your XRP without giving away self-custody in form of staking. So be very aware, anyone who is offering you is going to take custody of your XRP. So I don't recommend anyone to risk XRP for such a low income, considering that in the future, we're going to do that with the financial institutions, with lending platforms. You will lend your XRP perhaps to Bank of America, Santander, and that's going to come with an extra layer of security. Now, as of today, I definitely don't recommend it. Bersan, any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I put a lot of effort into warning people into not staking their crypto. There are so many hidden risks of staking, and why waiting actually for regulations, to what Edo said there, could actually save you. Staking, I know it sounds very easy. It sounds like easy passive income to most, to lock up your crypto, earn rewards. But beneath the surface of all of that, staking carries so many other risks that most people are not familiar with, especially in today's regulatory environment, where I would say it's still considered to be a very gray area. And that's why we're seeing a lot of the noise around Tether. We'll talk about that another time. But number one, you could actually, lose access to all your funds, because when you're staking, your assets are essentially locked up, sometimes for a week or so, or even months. Ethereum, I know it's for like at least 5-6 days, something like that. And if a network was, let's say, compromised, pretty much like what happened to FTX, the validator misbehaves or anything of that nature, right? You can lose part or even all of your funds that are being staked in times of market panic too. And I'm telling you, the economic environment is so uncertain still. We don't understand how this is going to play out. So you may not be able to unstake what you're staking until it's too late. And that's because, again, there are no clear regulations. So that means there's going to be very uncertain outcomes. If you pay very close attention to the regulatory environment, we see the SEC pushing that stablecoin bill. That's going to change a lot of the game. This is why I put that article out on Tether. We'll talk about that later, Edo. And the third thing is you're trusting a middleman. So again, when you're staking something, you're putting it through a centralized platform, which means you're actually trusting a third party. And potentially, some of this technology, when regulation is there, could be potentially worth billions. Millions. Yep. Even, right? So what's the smart play here? The smart play is to be patient, wait for clear regulations, real investor protections to protect the institutions, and you kind of play alongside them. Focus on self-custody in the meantime. This is what we're talking about here, owning your keys, understanding the assets you hold. Staking, to Edo's point, there's a time and place for it, but only when the rules are clear. Until then, everything is, you're risking it all.
Most importantly, having control of your digital assets. That's the main part of this decentralized finance. If you don't have control, I had this experience in the past where I was forced to stake CRO, is the native asset of crypto.com, and because I needed to order the card. And you can guess that when it was at the peak and I wanted to sell it, I couldn't sell it because it was staked. Even when I unstaked it, it took about 2 months or 1 month only for them to release the funds back. The price crashed 70% and I just lost the opportunity to sell it on top. So that's why this market is too dynamic. It changes things change very quickly. So you can't afford to have your assets there where you can't access them.
Of course. In crypto, don't chase the yield at the cost of your own personal sovereignty. Security comes first, speculation later.
Especially for like a 3 or 4 or 5% doesn't make any sense.
No. Anyways, inflation will outpace it.
Yeah, absolutely true. I think we cover all from the video. Versan, you want to add something? By the way, in this case, we can discuss here because we will cut this in the video. So
I think really what's happening in the markets right now, since that stablecoin bill got passed, you're going to see a lot of people talking about Tether. And the fact that it's a shadow bank, it's artificially inflating by printing trillions of synthetic dollars to artificially inflate an entire ecosystem based on pure speculation and leverage.
That's powerful.
A collapse is inevitable, my point being. In fact, I think Tether, and we've talked about this so many times, but Tether is the black swan for the whole crypto space that will give them the reason to say, this is why we need regulation. This is why we need government-backed stable coins. You see where this is going? To eliminate the decentralized competition. That's what they're doing here, both sides.
Last comment on that verse. Have you seen that, by the way, we're going to talk about that on the live streaming, but have you seen that Tether is aiming to become Bitcoin's #1 mining? They want to control the mining now.
Yeah.
They getting the stage. They set in the stage.
They're setting the stage. That's the best way to describe it, because we already know how this is going to play out. It's exactly what happened with the whole Bernie Madoff scheme in 2007, 2006. They knew what was going on. They were warned multiple times. And guess what? They chose not to act. Do you know why they chose not to act? Is because JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Wall Street were making too much damn money off of it. It was too profitable, too good to pull out that card until they were ready to. And I think this whole decentralized ecosystem that you see being built is going to be the reason, once they've siphoned enough wealth from people, to pull out that card and say, this is why we can't allow this space to come into existence. You see what I mean? Did you see what Christine Lagarde did? She's pushing that digital euro, the CBDC, like you wouldn't believe.
I know, it's coming now in October.
Yeah. So there's a time and place for a lot of this to unfold. And I think, maybe 2025, maybe 2026. I know there's the macro cycles.
Yeah. But by the way, very important, start self-custody before 1st of January 2026, especially if you are in Europe, because they will come with new regulations, and now every single crypto exchange is going to be obligated to communicate every single movement you do with your wallets. They will communicate that to the tax authorities. Another reason to get your crypto off the exchanges before 1st of January 2026.
Agreed. Yeah. And, it's very obvious what's happening here. Last thing I'll say on the stablecoin market. I put a tweet out on this today, but I'd like to elaborate it a little bit more. It's at this point, it's so freaking obvious that XRP is actually becoming the stablecoin of all stablecoins. Because if these new backed by governments and one-to-one ratios with the dollar and treasuries, even all these new stablecoins being built and issued, they're going to be issued on the ledgers that are most trusted, supported, politically backed, and regulated. That leaves Tether outside, right, of this new regulatory environment. So XRP will become the stablecoin of all stablecoins, since all these stablecoins are being issued on those ledgers, on that ledger, and everything will have to settle eventually through it. So naturally, XRP does consolidate a lot of the damn crypto space, a lot of the money that we're talking about and what we're seeing here eventually. And there's a time and place for that. But when Tether starts to burst and this goes public, mainstream, you're going to see a lot of that money flood in there. It's very possible that's one way, one mechanism only, and there are many, how XRP could climb to very high numbers, is what I'm saying.
Totally agree. That's going to wipe out even the entire ERC20 ecosystem. That's a house of cards built on lies and deception. I have to say it as it is. And most of these protocols built on Ethereum, they have Tether as a collateral. So it's going to be catastrophic. But yes, I do see a huge migration from all of this liquidity towards blockchains such as the XRP Ledger and Stellar blockchain.
Yeah. It's just another catalyst and another black swan, but that's how real value will begin to consolidate around the XRP ledger, not through the freaking headlines, through the endorsements or anything like that, through the function and reliability of preparedness that they've been waiting for. They are built for this. They're built for anything. It's like I've said this before. It's not just a cross-border payment solution. It's a cross-border everything solution. It seems to be though.
And that's the importance of having your cold wallets out there. So I hope the video was useful. Thank you, everyone. Versan, any final thoughts before we?
Yeah. This was about to become another turning point episode real fast.
Yeah, I was ready.
I just want to tell everyone, security is priority. Again, and once you own the protocols and protect them, those are your keys. And I think that's really your fight for freedom in a digitalized surveillance system.
Absolutely. Do you have, by the way, this we're going to cut off. Do you have any affiliates with cold wallets? If you have, I can say this on video that we're going to drop in the description.
I have one for Ledger.
Yeah, so I can say that. So, okay. We're going to drop any link. So for Ledger, you say it?
Yeah, mine's Ledger. It's the only one with. I don't think Descent offers one.
No, I have some, but I don't even remember which one. I don't use a lot, but I would say we're going to drop in the comments. Anyways, thanks, everyone. We're going to see you in the turning point live next time. And we're going to drop links. If you're interested to buy any cold wallets, you will find in the comments. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.